everyone, All the Things You Are has returned, and we're going to move on to a slightly more complicated, some ideas. In the intro there, I just played over the first few bars over and over again, using the idea that I want to show you, just to give you an example of how, of what's going on here. So let's jump right in. It's pretty much right where we left off. Okay, we have the A flat major scale up in this position. So if you haven't seen the first All the Things You Are video, that's worth checking out just to see. I covered some of the basics that I'll assume you already know, which is the A flat major scale and what chords it works over. And then I gave the arpeggio, the seventh arpeggios: F minor 7, B flat minor 7, E flat dominant 7, A flat major 7, to D major 7, all in the same key. Those are all in the key of A flat. Then it goes to the G7, which pulls to the C, 5-1 of the key of C. And then we stop there. So let's start at the beginning. Now on the F7 and on the B flat 7, we have two minor chords in a row. The first minor chord is a real minor chord. It's a chord that would not take Dorian. It's a natural minor chord. You can even play harmonic minor over it. It's the sixth chord, and the sixth chord is the relative minor chord, which takes the flat 6. So you don't have to use F Dorian licks over that. But so for now, just to get through the F, because you don't see the sixth chord a lot in songs, we just want to get through it. So there's a line that I'm using over the 2 chord, and we can put that over the F as well. But for now, let's just take, when you're practicing over the F, let's play it as a chord, play it as an F minor 7 chord, F minor 11, which is where you just bar your first finger and play the A flat here. Or maybe just the top 3, C, A flat, F, or the F9, F minor 9, C, A flat, and then you can play the G. That's a nice F minor 9 lick. And if you get real creative and crazy, you can jump up to the F or the E flat. And then we get to the F. Right below it is the E. E and the G make a nice approach on the F, E, G, F. Just little things like that. Just something to play during that change. Because now we come to the B flat minor to the E flat 7 to A flat. Now we come to a 2-5 proper. So here, what I want to do is have a line you can play. Instead of just having the arpeggio, the B flat minor 7 arpeggio, or taking a fragment of it. Let's take an actual lick. And so right away people might think, well, like, we don't want to learn licks, but you do, sort of. I mean, it is helpful. Ultimately, when you're playing, you don't want to try and think of licks, but if they come to mind, then they're worth using. But this will just be an idea, rather than just constantly having to, when you come to the B flat chord, to just run up and down the scale, or up and down the arpeggio, which does get frustrating. It helps to have an actual lick to play. And then within this lick, we'll have some improv. We'll have some options to take different routes. So we're doing limited improvisation. Now, the lick we want over the B flat minor chord, it's a very common jazz lick, and it starts on the 4 of the 4th note of the scale. There's the root, B flat, C, D flat, E flat. That's the 4. And then it goes down to the flat 3rd. Pretty straightforward. And then, so it's walking down to the C, the 9 of the scale. But what happens is, we play those 2 notes, and then we interrupt by walking up to that note from a little F minor arpeggio. F is the 5 of B flat, so it's a nice superimposition. So we get, it's played in different ways, rhythmically different ways. There's 2 different ones. And then a lot of times you hear maybe the rest of the scale, the B flat Dorian, B flat Dorian, which is really A major, A flat major. But that's the basic idea, and then we're going to have variations on it too as well. But so that's probably the basic lick. And we can mess with it down in the second octave of the same position. So I'll write both of them out. Now the key here is we're playing changes, we're always kind of thinking ahead. So we have a B flat chord, and we're going to play some version of this lick. I'll show you some variations. But before we do variations, let's think about where we're going. We're going to the E flat chord. So let's jump in right away with, instead of the E flat 7 arpeggio, which I showed last time, let's just change this arpeggio. We'll keep the E flat and the G, the root and the major third, but we're going to sharp the 5 to make it an augmented arpeggio. So it's a little bit outer. E flat augmented contains the sharp 5, so it's an outside, not outside in modern sense where you're way outside, you know, outside in the traditional bebop sense where either play flat 5 sharp 5, flat 9 sharp 9, those out over the dominant chords. So what I'll write out next is, after just a couple of different ideas on this B flat minor lick, is the that way or that way. E flat augmented arpeggio. And what's going to concern us the most is the top 5, you know. That's probably what we'll be using. So with that in mind, now we can take our B flat minor lick, because we want to pick a note that we're going to walk into. So let's start at the top. There's a B right there. Let's say we know we're going to start our E flat section on that note. So when we play the lick, the B flat minor lick, we need to get there somehow. So, you know, we could do that and then just jump up to it. But let's try and be a little more, you know, creative. So what I did here is I played the lick, but then I went back up to these notes and played them down, which walked me right into the B, the first note of the E flat. So we got. So I decided ahead of time I wanted to, you know, approach that note. So that gives us one very melodic way to get into that note. Okay, now from the E, we have a couple of different choices. As we go, let's just work with the top 5 strings. We're headed to an A flat major 7 arpeggio. So if we're on the B and we stay there, and our next note is we want it to be some note, probably we'll target the A flat. So from the B, I'll play the B, play the G, is still part of the E flat arpeggio, and we'll just slide up to the A. You know, you just play something in A. Now let's say we choose to start on the G, the third of the E flat augmented arpeggio. So in that case we could go. Okay, and now let's say we walk down 3 notes of that arpeggio. Now we're here. Okay, one of the A flat notes is right above it, C. So we can walk down. I'll play E, E flat. Actually, all these notes fit the E altered dumb scale too. Bang, now we're on A flat. So that whole sequence would sound like, has the E flat, and then we walk into the A flat. Bang. We could also go chromatic, walking down to the G. You know, I'll write out some of these variations. So you get to the E arpeggio, and then you just want to target one of the A flat major 7 notes. And it doesn't have to be as smooth as I'm making it out to sound. For example, you could play, let's say you just played that on the B flat and left a little space, and then when it comes to the E, you just jump to there, or you just jump to, you know, different things work. let's say you play that and then you decide to walk back up the line, because we want to create, you don't always just want to go, you know, there's ways to make variations. There's all kinds of ideas. You could, instead of playing the first two notes descending, you could play the first two notes ascending and then that arpeggio down, like that. Instead of, we could go, now the E flat, and then I ended up on an A. There's another one. I played some of the low notes in the B flat arpeggio, but then I went back up to the C, which made a nice approach to the B and the E augmented. So from B minor, and now I'll just go down the arpeggio. And then when A flat comes, bang, just go to the C. You know, whatever, play the A flat scale, the A flat major arpeggio. So this gives you a little bit of direction of how to, what shapes to use, what to play. I'll write out some actual full 2/5. I had to think there for a second. And some variations on that one lick. You know, you don't want to get too repetitive, but all right, now, so you'll see that in tab. Now let's move backwards for a second and go back to the F. This lick also, now, like I said, for the F, you could just play, you know, an F minor arpeggio for now. When you get real comfortable and you feel like I need some more, I need to add more, let's try a melodic device on the F as well. So the same lick we can play on the F chord, which is, there's the 4 of the F, and there's the flat third, or we could use the major 7. Let's just do the regular lick. So I'll write that out as that would fit the F chord. Now, of course, when you're actually playing it, you could, you know, do with variations. You could play so it doesn't sound anything like the lick, but actually in your mind you're relating it to the lick. You could play, I kind of did it backwards there, so that, you know, but take that lick and see if you can, what you can do with it. That's a kind of a straight ahead version, and then it's on B flat, E flat, there's the A. Then we go to D flat, we'll work with the D flat arpeggio. Now when it goes to G, the same augmented arpeggio that we just did in E also is a G. G and E flat are the same augmented arpeggio. They both contain the same notes. So now, after we play our D flat major chord, D flat major 7, you can use some A flat major notes. We'll go back to that augmented arpeggio and use that to approach notes of the C major chord. So if you're on the B, you could just walk right up to the C. If you're on this D sharp, E flat, you could just slide right up to the E in the C chord. You know, if you're on the G, you could walk right down to the E of the C major chord. So let's see, going back to the beginning. So we got F. Now here's B flat minor with the lick. Also, of course, that's a whole step, so that we could make a passing tone in between those. But anyway, B flat minor. Here's the E flat augmented, landing on the 3rd of the A flat. D flat, G7, augmented, C. Okay, cool. So that's all that stuff. Now let's take it one step further. One more little thing, because this material will, you'll, you know, kind of get bored of this fast. Let's do another thing that I found cool and introduce some box shapes. When you're learning pentatonic, they're all about box shapes. They say, like, there's that box 3-5-3-5 down here. That's the lower extension, and then you slide up to the middle. You get a big box, 3-note box in A minor, and then if you slide up 2 frets, get that home plate, they used to call it, box. It's shaped like a box. You get 2 frets like that and 2 like that, so it makes like a square. A lot of boxes. So thinking along those lines, let's go back to our E augmented. Now E augmented is part of the full scale would be E altered Dom, which I've covered a little bit in some videos. But rather than try and get the entire scale right now, let's look at a shortcut. When we're playing the E augmented, E is going to be the center note. That's the root of the augmented arpeggio in this case. Okay, so look for your E. There's one here. There's one here right in the middle, perfectly centered right there on the 8th fret, 3rd string, and then there's one up here. Let's deal with this one. Now, in altered Dom, when you have an E, all right, you want to visualize, go up 1 fret, okay, and you get a whole step sitting right above it. So there's an E, and then there's a whole step of notes, the flat 9 and sharp 9. Now, what's cool about this is if you go down a string, you have the same thing. That's the sharp 5 and the flat 7. So we get this box, and the E is right there. And it also goes above the E on the 2nd string. Now, because of the weird tuning, this one is offset. So it's up here, but there's the tritone, and there's the sharp 5. So we have, there's our root, but we got a whole bunch of stuff off of it. So let's leave that out for a second since it's kind of awkward. Let's just deal with the 9-11, 9-11. So this E is in the A flat major 7 arpeggio, all right? So we know we're on the E flat augmented. When we get to that E flat, right, we know that we can, that those notes are altered notes for E. However you play them, like that or like that. However, we can play them and then resolve to the E flat, which is the 5th of A flat, or there's the C of the A flat right there. So what's going to happen is here's the B flat. Now here's the E flat. There's the box shape resolved to E flat, which is the 5 of A flat. So now you're not only taking the augmented arpeggio and using that to get some interesting notes, now we're starting to look at some little areas we can create outside melodies. And then we end it like that, or just end on the E flat. So again, F minor, B flat, E flat augmented, A flat, D flat. Now the G7, C. There you go. So you can write out, or get some type of backing track. If you have a software that will write out stuff over and over again, you can do that kind of thing. Like I have this cheesy version in Reason. B flat. There's the E. There's the A. D flat. Here comes the G. So I do the augmented and then C. So we start over now. F. Here's the B flat. There's the A flat, whatever. Now the G with the augmented, and then just some C. One more time. F, B flat. Tried to vary a little bit. G augmented, C. F. I'll do the lick on B flat. To A, D. Okay. So I'll have all the examples written out in tab, so it's just a way to break away from just having the scale and the basic arpeggios to use. It'll give you some more melodic content to work with, and it inspires you to, you feel a little better about playing the song when you actually that lick over. That's a really nice lick. It starts out with the E augmented arpeggio, but then grabs that little box from altered Dom and ends on the 5 of A flat, and then on the D flat, and on the G. Now, if you're advanced, you can take the G and say, okay, hey, let's do that box thing on the G too. You just find your root. There's the E, so it's on the same string and one string lower. There's the G, same string, one string lower. So it would be offset because of the tuning. But there's a G there, so there's the box. And you may have noticed earlier I left out the box itself. If we looked at this E flat down here, okay, there's the box. There's E flat, so you go up 1 fret. There's there, and then the lower string makes a box. It's also the next string up, so it's a string above the E flat, the same string as the E flat, and a string below. So there's our E flat, and the box is these 3 and these 3. So you got a picture. There's our target, and then we got 3 notes here and 3 notes here. So which means I can mess around with all these notes. They are real good altered notes I can mess around with. And then if I hit that note, that's the 5 of A flat. So it makes a nice resolution. Actually, I could just hit the A flat right there. There's the E flat. That's what it sounds like. Or with the C. I could play them in fourths. Or you could, chain them together. Obviously, it's the A pentatonic scale. I'm just tailoring it to, but we could think of it as A eventually. That's another way to practice. But I find it's easy to take the E augmented, flat augmented arpeggio, and just take the E and look for little, shapes that we can use to lead us back to the A flat, to the 1 chord. That makes things a little bit easier in the long run, rather than trying to say, okay, where's all the notes of altered Dom around the augmented arpeggio? So check out the tab. There'll be examples, lots of examples, so you can see exactly how to look at the licks, and then don't worry about memorizing the licks literal. Just get the basic ideas. So you're on B flat, you can just do something like this, and then on the E flat, and then you might, one time on the E flat, you might have a few beats left over to work on the box lick there, which falls right into a nice A flat arpeggio. The D arpeggio is kind of just whatever, and then the G is we're returning back to the augmented arpeggio, except now G would be where the box is, the G. So there's a G, so we want to do it like that, or there's a G there. There's a G. Whoops. Or the 3-note box, right? There's the G, so it'd be all these 3. And so forth. And then take it down to E flat, where you start with the C. And then the F minor, same lick. Augmented on B flat with the box, falling into the E flat arpeggio, A flat, now D7 augmented, the G. so everything you do here just repeats down here. Then key of G. Go up to our right here, take that lick on A7, A minor 7, D7 augmented, and then same thing in the key of E. F sharp minor, B augmented, the box to E, and then boom, we're back at the F. We're back at the F. A flat, D flat, and then it's got that ending, you know, where things change a little bit. But so this is sort of the next step of working on a song like All the Things You Are. And, you know, if you can, create a backing track that just loops those first chords, or the first set and then the section in E flat, loop that, and then try the whole song. Try it just with a metronome, try it slow, you know. In this way, you'll build up. So if you're not feeling super creative, say, and you have to play the song still, at least you can, well, just fall back, minor 9, use my lick, augmented, A flat, D flat, G. You know, and then you might help you get into the mood of, you know, sometimes if I'm not feeling 100%, my improv is not great. You know, it takes a lot of energy to, you know, I find, so I have to kind of fall back onto stuff I've already played. It's just, you know, for some reason playing changes, playing anything, it takes, you know, a lot of energy. It's not just something to take it for granted. All right, cool. So that's some more ideas on All the Things You Are, you know, to take it to the next step. And it becomes a lot more fun when you have, you know, some ideas to work with, some basic ideas. And that's all. Any questions, let me know. I know this is kind of this one might raise a lot of questions, but, you know, just whatever. We'll see. Hope that helps you out. Thanks for subscribing. Please subscribe if you haven't. That helps things out. And let me know what else you feel like working on. And I'm going to have to play an F minor arpeggio.